It is one of those special, magical Anfield nights tonight as Real Madrid roll into town. The Champions League music blares, and Jurgen Klopp is fresh from the fever dream of having beaten Newcastle at the weekend and then brought himself crashing to earth by watching last season's Champions League final again on video. Mark Lawrenson, a video nasty for Jurgen Klopp to inspire him and the team, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they feel aggrieved, don't they? I think they deserve to win that night. If it wasn't for the goalkeeper, for the Madrid goalkeeper, they would have won. Sometimes, as we know, in finals, the best team doesn't necessarily win the game. So, yeah, I think this is the season tonight, isn't it? This game and the one when they play Madrid are basically Liverpool's season. So it'll be interesting to see. As you know, the atmosphere will be red hot. But it's Madrid, and they're used to it. They're used to coping, going wherever they play around the world, and the home team wanting desperately to beat them.
We've seen Real Madrid over the last couple of seasons buy all the best young talent in the world, apparently, and start to put it in the team so that their legendary midfield trio has already broken up. Casemiro has gone to Manchester United, and we're seeing the other two spend a little bit less time. And you're like, oh, that's a very well-run club. And then out of nowhere, Bajčetić comes into the team, and at 18 is Liverpool's best player, and suddenly the fear, like 4 weeks ago, was, they've got nothing coming through and they're going to have to spend hundreds of millions to get whoever, Bellingham and whoever else will make them recover. There was, for the goal, and it doesn't show up on the highlights, but for the first goal against Newcastle, there's a turn that Bajčetić does that creates all the space, and then he just looks up and pings the ball, and the goal is on straight away, just from the shimmy of the hips. And it seems really basic stuff, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, he's a player. And I mean, I hate to go a little bit early with when you see young players come in the team, because there's always they get to a crest and then they drop a little bit and then they come back. But he's been outstanding. And as you rightly say, and I've been at all the last, 5 or 6 games since he started, and he's been outstanding. And he has been the best player. So it remains to be seen today what will happen. I think, obviously, he got Fabinho back at the weekend. Henderson's in there as well. And it's an area where you need all that experience. But Bajčetić, most definitely, because he's different. And as you rightly say, he's done that on a few occasions with his turn and everything. And people have bought it, playing against him in midfield. And it's made all the difference. He'll put his foot in as well. I mean, I think his first 2 games, if my memory serves me right, he got booked. But he got booked early on in the game. You're thinking, another, makes a mistake with one of the tackles, and he loves a tackle, and he gets a yellow and he's gone. But he seems to be able to manage it. And it's a classic case of he's just got no fear at the moment. He probably goes home after training every day and says, well, this is easy. Well, I should have done this 2 years ago when I was a real kid.
How important was the identity of the goal scorers at the weekend, Mark, considering the gravity of the game tonight? Like, to see Gakpo and Nunez getting the score sheet, remains to be seen whether Nunez's shoulder is okay for tonight. We'll see this evening. But for both of them to get on the goal sheet, a little bit of confidence will do them no harm.
Yeah, well, so that's 2 and 2 for Gakpo, wasn't it? So that's good for him. And I think the goals were very similar, as everybody appreciates. And look, it's something we've been missing, the fact that when you don't play particularly well, you kind of you look after the ball a little bit more, as in you don't want to give it away because you think, oh, here we go, give it back to the opposition, etc. And for once, we've actually really started to look forward and we certainly looked in behind Newcastle at the weekend and basically cut them to ribbons. So it'll be interesting if we can do that tonight. But the confidence is now high with those two. I think Nunez will play. I'll be very, very surprised if he doesn't. I think he just fell on his shoulder. After a bit of treatment and everything, he's probably got some soreness, but surely you would think he'd be desperate to play. And, we know he's lightning quick, and it'd be good that he does start to test the Real Madrid at the back. So, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? A couple of decent results. They were okay against Everton. They were a poor side, as we know, but 2 results and the place looks completely different. The news now that FSG aren't going to sell as well, so it'll be absolutely banging tonight in that stadium.
It is the season. Maybe it's less now the season than it was before, because there's still a strong possibility that they go on a run and they can finish top 4. But if they were to beat Real Madrid, then the possibilities are really endless for this year.
Yeah, it's a big if, though, isn't it? because you're always aware that, I mean, they've basically played last 2 games. They were decent against Everton and they were good against Newcastle, but this is a team who obviously all knew they were going to play in a final this coming weekend. And if you drop off 5% in the Premier League, we've seen what happens. So yeah, it's you're looking at it now and you think, look, if they can continue this form and make it even better, they might get a chance top 4. But I think we need to wait a little bit because they've had a couple of false dawns as well, and we still look like we could concede. I mean, the way that Newcastle started at the weekend, they could have had a couple of goals. So before we'd even really got started. So we'll wait and see. But the signs are good, aren't they? Green shoots of recovery, maybe.
Yeah. It's a fair way of putting it. I was going to bring up the chances that Newcastle had, and like at their absolute peak when they were winning the league with 100 points or whatever, a million goals. Like they were always playing a high wire act, the high line, and Alisson was frequently making a number of brilliant saves. So like that is kind of part of the Liverpool DNA, is that they will concede chances, but they're going to be difficult chances, and it's going to take world class finishing from Vinicius Junior or whoever else.
Yeah, problem is you might get that, might you, with Madrid. I think I think word's gone out with all the other teams, certainly in the Premier League, which is that, have a real go at Liverpool. And the problem has been the fact that generally the kind of midfield 3 haven't really protected the back 4. And that's made them a little bit open. And that's why they've conceded lots of chances. And I mean, as good as the result was against Everton, which is always good when you beat them in the derby, don't forget Tarkowski, 6 inches, and the Everton were 1-0 up, and obviously we scored from the breakaway. But so it's always those little finer moments in games that define the ultimate outcome with me. So we'll just wait and see. And because I'm a little bit going tonight to work, and I'm thinking I'm also a little bit prepared to think that this might be a really big task, and it'd be really interesting to see if they're up to it.
Is it still a concern, Mark, that Jurgen Klopp doesn't seem to know his best starting 11? Like, I know, look at you, the likes of Konate has only played 5 games this season in the league, and Jota hasn't scored since last April. But aside from players being out of form, he still doesn't know his best 11. Is that a fair assumption?
I think he does now. So obviously availability is always the key. I think as soon as Konate's fit, he gets slotted back in. Joe Gomez has done okay, but he generally makes a mistake a game. I think he seems to lack a little bit of concentration at times. There's no shortage of ability, but that seems to happen with him. He'll be better, obviously, playing alongside Van Dijk. So Konate would be in, and probably Thiago would be in the team. I mean, Fabinho's the one, because since he came back from the World Cup, he's been poor, in all honesty. And I know that the family, they've just had a baby and maybe he's had some late nights or whatever it is. He was a little better on Saturday, but I'm still looking at the game and I'm thinking in midfield is just absolutely, totally the key today, because if Madrid play well, they'll keep the ball and they make it extremely difficult for Liverpool.
I think he does know his best 11 now after the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think Henderson is going to start. I think Fabinho is going to start. I think Bajčetić is going to start. And then the front 3 is the front 3 now. That's it. He's going to give them a run of 10 games and see how they go.
I would say so, absolutely. And as I say, as soon as Konate's fit, I think they'll get him straight back in. And hopefully, you know what it's like, guys. I was listening to you there talking about the rugby and everything. And, it's all about momentum at that level, because everybody's got the ability. There's no doubt about it. And obviously, once you get the momentum and you get the confidence and consistency, and you've got really good players, you start winning games, whatever sport it is.
Is that a real thing, Mark? Is that something that you certainly noticed in your own career, momentum as a tangible thing that helps?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, if you get momentum and you start playing well and you start winning games, if you've got outstanding players, and dare I say it, the game can become quite easy. And you've got fantastic confidence, and when you've got really good players, you're all very comfortable on the ball. It doesn't half make a difference, and it also, what it does is it gives you this feeling of not that you're you're brilliant or anything like that, but you just know with the consistency and the form that with the players you have in the team, you're going to win a majority of games, and sometimes that's why you go on these big long runs of 15, 20 games unbeaten.
Can I ask you about the re-emergence of Rafa Benitez over the last 5-6 weeks?
Yeah, you can.
He's made
his head above the parapet. Good old Rafa.
Yeah. There's a big piece in the London Times today, remembering when he beat Real Madrid, and remembering when Sergio Ramos used to tell him stuff, and how he met Bajčetić's father out in China, and it's basically like a Forrest Gump style, all the key moments of history. And I don't want to diminish his time at Liverpool as manager, but like it has become known somehow that of all of the jobs in the Premier League that might become available, the one that would interest him the most is the West Ham job. Now certainly he hasn't denied this, and I suspect maybe there's an agent somewhere trying to chisel him in, but it seems a little bit I don't know. It doesn't seem entirely kosher.
I'll tell you what it is. Rafa's bored, and he obviously wants a job. His missus, because in all the jobs that he's had in the last few years, his wife and the two kids have never moved. They still live on the Wirral, which is, you go through the Mersey Tunnel to get to Liverpool from the Wirral, and the deal has always been that look, we're not moving the kids. They're at school, all those kind of things, and Rafa's gone and done his thing. He went to China, for God's sake. Who would want to go and manage in China? I know that the money's fabulous, but not for me. So I think he's at that time now. The Leeds job maybe come up. He might have a chance with that. So now I think it's timing. It's like, just remember me, remember what I did, and he won't be short in telling people what he's done. But he's a really nice bloke, but he wants a job, doesn't he? Basically, is the bottom line.
But isn't David Moyes the best man to take West Ham through to the end of the season? He's the one with the relegation battle experiences.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously biased because he's my pal. So he absolutely totally is, and I don't think he's under any great pressure from the hierarchy of which obviously they lost. One of the guys the other week, didn't he? Unfortunately, who passed away. But yeah, I think David Sullivan is very much in Moyes' corner, and obviously they need to win some games. And I've been really surprised that they've not. I thought they'd start to pull away, but it's certainly not been that way. But yeah, he's a firefighter, isn't he? Basically, in football, and he makes the team very difficult to beat. But obviously, at the weekend, to be beaten by Tottenham was a poor result for him. But they've probably had a little look. The owners probably had a little look around at who they could possibly get if the situation got worse. And he's probably looking around and thinking, well, actually, what West Ham need is David Moyes. It was a bit like when Sam Allardyce was there and he left. And it was like, well, what they actually need was Sam Allardyce. Obviously, completely different. But yeah, I think he'll be fine. He'll just get his head down and work even harder. But they need something, and they need to start soon, definitely.
We're guilty, I think, Mark, sometimes in the media, and certainly football fans as well, of maybe thinking of football managers as maybe not humans with actual human emotions. Like, how does David deal with pressure like this when people are talking about the the sack race and the relegation battle and all that? Does it get to him, or is he well capable of coping with it?
No, he doesn't change. In fairness to him, he doesn't change whether they've won 6 or they've lost 6. I want to say that he probably works even harder if they've lost 6. No, he's just a real football man. He's not really got anything else in his life, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. And he's just he lives very close to the ground, and he basically spends nearly all his day at the training ground, all his day planning, plotting, coaching, cajoling, whatever you want to call it. And his work ethic is as good as it's up there with Fergie, and preparation, all those kind of things. But he needs a bit of a break at the moment. So hopefully he'll get one. But you're right. You know, you need when you're struggling down there, you need scrappers, and you need scrappers in your team, and you need a manager who's obviously extremely driven, which he is.
Declan Rice was kind of less than, I don't know, maybe we overread too much into this. He was saying the 5 at the back and 3 in midfield, left the 2 strikers isolated. Maybe that's just a good tactical analysis of what they did, and we should expect that. Or the way it's being sold is, Rice is unhappy at the tactics, and
he's got a great relationship with Declan Rice, but I think everybody knows that Declan's going in the summer. Where he goes to, and you know, whatever he does, obviously that's down to him. But I think they're looking around already. And in all honesty, if you were looking around for a similar type of player, you'd be looking at Man City, and you'd be looking at Phillips, wouldn't you? Who obviously doesn't get anywhere near the team. And you know, if you're talking over 100 million for Declan Rice, you might get Phillips for 40 mil, and another couple of players. So he's always been good at that, Moyes. He's improved players and sold them on. His record at Everton with buying players and selling them is actually, when you look at it, is incredible, and the amount of money he made for the football club. So, yeah, I think Declan Rice will be gone in the summer, and obviously somebody will come in. It might need 2 players to come and take his position, which happens at club because he is that good a player, Rice.
All right, we'll leave it there. Enjoy the game tonight, Mark. Thanks a million.
Will do.
It's Mark Lawrenson there, off to Anfield this evening for a big European game. Real Madrid doesn't get any bigger.